Hello, thank you for tuning into Tech Talk Tuesday. My name is Brian Mursky, and I am the owner of Veranda Technologies. We're here in Brick Township, and we service the Monmouth, Ocean, and surrounding counties in New Jersey. So, one of the more frequent questions that we get asked about, and it's becoming more frequent all the time, is about Wi Fi. How to extend it, speed it up, cover a greater area, make it stronger, all of that. So, today we'll talk about it. So, lesson number one. If you have Wi-Fi that is provided by a device given to you by a cable company, Comcast, Cablevision, Verizon, Time Warner, etc., the Wi-Fi radio in those devices are garbage. It's the reason you're having trouble. They're awful. Most techs will even tell you that right up front. They are passable in many cases, but they lock up. They tend to go slow. They need to be rebooted. They are problematic. So we will talk about what you can do with that. You can turn that off, or you can have the cable company or a company like us come and disable that and replace it with something store-bought or online bought. And we'll cover the different types of devices. The second rule of thumb, and this can help your situation if you're using one of those devices, is to place the Wi-Fi device as central and high in your location as possible, right? So if it's in the basement or along one side of the wall, or corner, or both, let's say it's in the basement along one side of the wall, that's the opposite of ideal, because the way Wi-Fi works, in most cases, the Wi-Fi mushrooms out, so it's like a mushroom cloud. And if you're starting over on one side, that's only, it's going out in the same distance in all directions around it, right? So you want that as central to the property as possible, your home or business, and you want it not in the basement. You want it on the top floor if you can. Now that requires wiring, obviously. So a convenient way around this, we'll start with extenders or repeaters. You can go out to Staples, Best Buy, stores like that. You can go online and research repeaters, or wireless repeaters, or wireless extenders, they're more commonly called. And what they do, they don't require a wire plugging into them like an access point or a router or modem. So a repeater will plug into an outlet for power. So it just plugs into a wall outlet. Sometimes that's all they are, nothing more than that. And you'll use an app or your browser on your phone to configure it. They all configure slightly differently. But what happens is you give it the wireless name and password for the existing wireless that you already have set up. It joins that and then reboots and rebroadcasts that wireless. So it takes the wireless signal and rebroadcasts it in a mushroom from its location. So let's say you have a Comcast modem in your basement or on one edge of the house, it's in the family room or wherever they installed it, right, wherever the service provider put it in. Let's say that only covers 60% of your house or business. And you have, 40% not covered over towards the side, probably some corners in the front of the back. You put the extender about 50% of the way over, sorry about that, and maybe 45 or 50% of the way over. It will take what's still a strong signal, rebroadcast it, covering the rest. Now, I have properties where I have 5 or 6 extenders in play, long hallways, let's say, in an apartment building or strip mall properties like that. You might have a long ranch, that's not particularly deep or wide, but it's long. You can have an access point and then a repeater and another repeater and another repeater, and you keep moving them farther down. Now, you will lose speed that way. You'll have some latency. For web browsing and email, you probably won't notice it, but you certainly would for gaming. So the best solution is to put your device as central as you can. Or you can go out and get a better access point. So when you're buying an access point, I'll give you some terminology to look for. Obviously, the difference between an access point and an extender or repeater we covered. If you see anything with the word router on it, avoid it. Go for something else. You'll get in over your head pretty quickly, and you can't have 2 routers on the same network, so you really need to know what you're doing. You can engage somebody like us and we'll certainly leave our phone number and email at the end of the video, as we always do. But you want to avoid anything that calls itself a router. You'd go for access point or extender. Again, access point, remember, you're going to need a cable to plug into it to start, and if you can get that centrally located, that's great. If not, most of the access points now are strong enough to cover your average home. Now, if you have a larger home, beachfront type home, bigger property, or a larger business, maybe not. But a single family home, most of the store-bought stuff is pretty good, even if it's over on the side, which is obviously different than the garbagey ones that I'm talking about that you get from your service provider. So when you buy them, there's going to be some terminology that you'll see. The first thing, and I don't want to forget to say this, when you set up any of these devices, do not miss the opportunity to change your username and password. Not the wireless username and password, well, the wireless password, but the administration. So when you're setting the device up, they will all give you an opportunity to change the default password. You want to do that so that somebody else can't access it over wireless. So there are standalone access points, there are mesh type access points, there are access points with internal antennas and external antennas. Quickly on that, the external antennas are going to be stronger and cover more area, more coverage. They won't affect speed necessarily, but they will affect range. They don't look as pretty. They're certainly not as sleek or as contained. You can get a nice, sleek, contained unit with internal antennas. That won't go as far, but they'll look better. They're also generally a little bit less expensive, the external antennas. Because they're better, they're going to cost a little bit more. The biggest things to look for are the gigahertz. Many are just 2.4 gigahertz. You really want to look for something that's 2.4 and 5 gigahertz now. The 5 gigahertz frequency, and I'll try to keep this from getting too technical, 5 gigahertz is a higher frequency. Obviously 5 is higher than 2.4, which means it works faster. It is a much faster experience on Wi-Fi, but for a significantly decreased range. 5 gigahertz will run a third to a quarter the distance of 2.5 gigahertz. So if you have an access point that goes 200 feet, or let's say 200 feet on 2.4 gigahertz, you might only get 50 to 75 feet on 5.0. Most of your newer devices, though, are smart enough to sense what's available and back themselves down or step themselves up. And many of the access points now have that. It's called band steering. But what it allows you to do, you don't actually have to do anything except when you set it up, you create the same SSID, the same wireless name for both the 2.4 and the 5. And if your phone or tablet or laptop is close enough to the access point, you'll be fast. If you move farther away, it'll drop to the 2.4, which is a more congested network. And it will work slower, but it will work farther away. The 2.4 gigahertz network, by the way, is where cordless phones and microwaves and baby monitors and all those things have been forever, which is why 5.0 is cleaner, less interference, but again, you're gonna suffer range. It just does not broadcast as far because of the height of the frequency. The other big thing to watch is the speeds, and they're denoted by letters. So long time ago, it was 802.11.A. You would find access points and repeaters that were labeled on the A frequency. B and G were done at different times, but they tend to go hand in hand. You'll see a lot that say B/G. B/G/N are really what you want to be looking for. You'll see some that are just N. The problem with just N is if you have older devices, if you're the type of person that hangs onto a phone or a laptop more than 3 or 4 years, that device won't work on an N. So you want something that's BGN. And there is a new standard 802.11.AC, which is even faster than N. Now, don't get carried away. And this is what I really wanted to cover with the speeds, because people get tripped up with this. If you go out to the store and you see something that says AC, right, wireless, BGNAC, they'll tout the fact that it's the fastest possible. The AC protocol operates at 1,300 megabits per second, Again, I won't make this too technical, but 1300 is roughly 3 times the 450 megabit standard of N, which sounds phenomenal, except that your internet is nowhere near that fast. Your iPhone and your laptop are nowhere near that fast. So maybe for streaming from DVR to DVR, maybe for streaming from DVR to laptop or laptop to computer inside your network, maybe those make a difference. The average person does not need to worry about, right now anyway, getting a 1300 megabit per second access point or repeater, because your internet service can't even do that. You're probably getting 75 or 100 megabit service from your provider. Maybe you're paying a little bit more for 150 or 200, but that's still nowhere near 1300. It's not even close to 450. So the 450 meg N access points, it's a theoretical speed. You're not going to see that because the device and the service provider are still the bottleneck. So look for speed, pay attention, make sure it has multiple bands. I like suggesting that you get multiple bands, not necessarily the highest bands, because that will account for the greatest flexibility in what you're connecting to it. If you need more than one, make sure they're matched. So if you get a repeater, for example, that can support B, G, and N, and it can support 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, the frequencies, but maybe your cable modem's only 2.4, then you don't really want that repeater working off of your cable modem, because when you go back and forth, you'll have problems. So if you have any questions, I know this is a difficult to cover topic in something like a video post, one of these video blogs. Please reach out to us. Our phone number, my phone number, is 732-743-5772. Our email is helpdesk@verandatech.com. That's helpdesk at, one word obviously, at verandatech.com. You can find us online at verandatech.com or facebook.com/verandatech. I hope the videos are informational. This one did get a little long. I apologize for that. Hopefully they're providing some benefit. If you have any suggestions for a topic you'd like to see, please let us know. Otherwise, have a great week, and we will see you next Tuesday on Tech Talk Tuesday.